Hey everyone, welcome to the HockeyBuzzcast, and we have a trade today, so we're going to talk about that in a second. We first have, and we have more trade rumors on top of that. We have things are turning crazy, and I thought it might because this is the Tuesday after the first round ended, and that's usually a good day. So we already had one trade that day. I've been doing this long enough to sort of learn these days that you have to look out for. This is one of them. Anyway, but let's start off with Russ. You got something to say with us today?
I do. I saw this signing this morning, and I admit I don't get it, but I also don't know the player. So the Arizona Cardinals made Buda Baker the highest paid safety in the league. Now, I know other names. I get he's a Pro Bowler, but they're giving him $59 million, which probably means 30 of it is guaranteed, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And it just seems like the NFL is this league now where there are some players that get ridiculous money. Like we hear offensive linemen who get ridiculous money and a lot of times never live up to it. They no longer overspend on quarterbacks the way they did because quarterbacks are so integral in the way the game is, and they no longer spend too much on draft picks because they're not slotted the way they were, like when everybody was making ridiculous money. But Mike, I gotta say, I mean, I don't get this signing and why you would spend so much money on this guy.
Yeah,
it's not Arizona wins every year.
Right, exactly. I was just about to say, especially with the Arizona Cardinals, who, aren't like one player away from a Super Bowl. Although you never know in this league if things are so transparent. But I mean, I don't know what the hell the situation was with Earl Thomas in Baltimore that they terminated his contract and walked away.
He's just a jerk.
He's a jerk, but honestly, I would rather go out and sign him for pennies on the dollar than to sign a safety for whatever. I mean, it's probably close to what Jamal Adams was asking in a deal. We talked about this yesterday, and I just wanted to mention it because, and I sort of agree with this. Sean McDermott, the Bills coach, was asked about what we talked about yesterday about Miami having fans for the season opener, 13,000 fans, and he's not happy about it.
I heard it.
Yeah, he's not happy about it for a couple reasons. But one, everything is based on localities and their rules. New York is not allowing football stadiums, not allowing not allowing like the Sabres wanted to play at the arena. They wouldn't be able to have fans. The Bills aren't allowed to have fans. But in Florida, Tampa, Jacksonville, or Miami, they're allowed. He believes that there should be a set rule.
I agree with that.
Everybody or nobody. And the thing is, the
there
NFL
should be a set policy in the NFL.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be a team-by-team specific thing. But look, the issue is allowing fans into the game. You can social distance when you get into the stadium if you have that number of fans. The issue is getting into and out of the stadium and everything else associated with it while you're in the stadium is where you're going to have substantive problems. And the league needs to be consistent of either yes or no, not one location yes, one location no.
Well, let's use common sense. Let's use Miami as an example.
Whoa, common sense, Russ.
I know. It's the worst place in the country for the virus. The second biggest way of picking up the virus is in the restroom, actually in the urinal.
True.
So now you have 13,000 more people that have a chance to give it to like 100,000 more people. Like it just, that's why there does need to be a uniform policy. The NHL could have people and the NBA could have some fans in some cities now, but they're not doing it because they realize it's not a smart way to do it. Just to make a few extra dollars, it is not worth it. But the NFL doesn't care. They don't care.
Yeah, I totally agree. They really are just about money. It's obvious. And the weird thing about it is, like, of all the leagues, they don't need fans. Like, this is the one league that literally could play without fans and not feel it at all. They wouldn't feel it even slightly. Okay, so the reality is that's just, to me, I mean, when you're only selling tickets for 8 games or whatever it is, 10 games with preseason or whatever they sell, so stupid.
I mean, here's an example, right? And again, this is a whole college campus, but University of Alabama, who probably decided, hey, we're not going to worry about this stupid disease. They have over 500 kids now testing positive. Now, again, out of those 500 sets of parents, I kind of wonder how many of them are pissed off about it. I would be.
Yeah, of course. Of course. No, a lot of them have to be. I mean, it's a serious problem. I mean, you're really looking at serious risks here that you're needlessly using. I mean, I don't know. The NHL, I mean, it's astonishing. The other day they sent out the thing, they 6,000 COVID tests they've taken so far, and not a single. I mean, that's almost ridiculous. I mean,
I would live in a bubble right now if I could, because of that.
I think we should all live in bubbles, honestly. The way that looks, we should all move to Canada and live in a bubble. That's the reality is where we are right now.
That's the new future for us.
So, Mike, in the last series, we had a little bet on the Montreal.
Yes, there was.
We didn't really talk about this since the Montreal-Pittsburgh thing went down.
No.
But the idea was that we were supposed to make a Jello head of yourself to be Mike. That we were going to call.
I don't know
Mike,
how the hell I would do that.
We were going to call Mike Jello.
Well, have you even tried to stick your head in Jello? You're not even trying.
Instead, I know that's hard to do, and I'm not. That's asking a lot, and I know that you never pay.
Well, I have such a big head because I have such a big brain.
Yeah, and since you never pay up on your bets anyway, I thought what I would do.
Wait a second. How many freaking cookies over the years am I supposed to be getting from you?
I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So there's this thing on TikTok that was sent to me. This is what happens when you have a major website. You get weird things sent to you.
You Chinese communist sympathizer.
Are you familiar with these things?
Oh, yeah.
You've seen this in TikTok?
What are they,
Yeah.
Benoit
Not on
balls?
TikTok, just in life.
Just in life. You've seen this in life, Russ. Okay, so these are little they're this is what it is. They're filled with Jello.
Right.
They're like little shots of Jello. There's no alcohol, but they're little shots of Jello. This one's orange. I was going to paint in honor of you because it's Tang, So I was going to paint a little face on you here and say that this is you're paying out the bet. But I couldn't find my Sharpie before the show. But anyway, so this is it. You're paying up your bet. I'm going to drink this down now in honor of you, and in honor of me winning this bet. So. And this will give me a sugar high that you'll see in about 3 minutes because this is insane amount of sugar.
Coming from a guy who drinks sweetened tea by the gallon sometimes.
Always diet though. Yeah. So there you go. You're done. There you go. Finished. The bet is finished. Consider myself victor.
It's not too easy, but
you
whatever.
ever had a chance to try one of these? Oh my gosh!
I've not tried one now.
I had the other. They are. If you have a bunch around and you're bored, you're going to just eat them because they're good and they're sugar. I did that the other day, and about 10 minutes after I did have like 5 of them, I felt my heart. Literally felt heart palpitations. Like wow. I felt this weird like racing going on.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. So yes, I'm up.
Make them like where are those made?
I think they're these are made in the U.S. My wife's like, you're not getting those. They're made in China. I don't know what they're
There you go.
But they're not. These are made in the U.S.
Assembled in the U.S. and made somewhere else though.
Yeah, it says everything's U.S. based, and and they're good until January 11th, 2028. So
that's when it officially hardens.
I don't know if you should eat anything that's good till 2028, honestly. But
carbon
there you have it.
Well, you have that other food. You have that pandemic food that's good until probably.
Oh yeah, no, those things I take one a day. Yeah, my magic pills. If we all die, we can survive on 2 of them a day. That's right. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. So let's move on to the show. Talk about our trade here involving, of course, our favorite teams ever. All right, ready? Today is the 26th.
Yeah, why not?
25th. It's actually the 25th. It doesn't really matter. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. Can we just say
every day in August is precious? Come on.
Can we just say hi? It's it's the end of August.
Mike sees snow around the corner. He wants it to be August for a while. I get it.
Hello, Hockey World. It's the end of August, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello, and it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
I'm Jan Levine, and thanks, Michael Stipe.
Yeah.
Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com or listening to it, depending on how you do it. As the podcast comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on your comings and goings in the hockey world. And we're going to start today with the trade of a guy that I once played street hockey with. One of my buddies, who was actually coached by a friend of mine.
And you lost to him when he was 8 years old.
He was friggin' good at that point. So was his brother. So the Kapanens, when Sammy Kapanen was playing for the Flyers, lived behind my future in-laws' house when I was dating my wife now. And so my wife had a pool. They had a pool, and the Kapanens had a pool as well. So there was a fence that separated the 2 pools, but that was it. And there was they had a giant like slide. So you'd see that all the time. You see the Kapanen kids go up the slide down into the pool and stuff like that. And one day they saw me outside playing street hockey with my wife and I, passing the puck around on the street, which I was trying to get her into the sport. So I would like to bring a little one of those green puck biscuits things and pass it around the street.
Right.
And they came over like, oh, we're hockey players. I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, I knew obviously that their father's Sammy Kapanen. And yes, I played with him. I played with Kasperi Kapanen way back then. He was probably like, I don't know, like 3 feet tall. He was ridiculous. I don't know how old he was, but he was a long time ago. So he was probably like 5. But anyway, yeah, he's been moved again back to the team he started on, right? If I'm correct. Wasn't he drafted by the Penguins?
Yes.
So it's not a small trade as far as players go, but Russ, we're going to need your help on this one because there's a lot of people that I don't know. Kasperi Kapanen, Pontus Åberg, which we know him. He's the Swedish guy who used to be on the Predators. And Jesper Lindgren have gone from the Maple Leafs in exchange for Evan Rodriguez, David Warsofsky, and Philip Hollander. And the big thing here, the 2020 first-round draft pick. That's the draft pick coming up in a couple months.
Well, I'll yield to Russ's expertise on the project. So let me cover the Leaf page on this one first. Kapanen had an off year, and I've said this before, but he was yo-yoed back and forth from left wing to right wing. He's a right winger. He can't play the left wing. He played really bad when he played on the left side, even with skilled players like Marner and Tavares. It just wasn't a fit. They front-loaded that contract, a 3-year deal, where he's, I believe, a restricted free agent, arbitration eligible at the end of it. So, now the Penguins have control over him even after the end of the deal. But they front-loaded that deal, so the money paid out is less than the actual cap hit. He's 24. He's a talented player. He's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of ability, but I don't know whether he's a top 6 forward. He was given opportunities to take that position in Toronto, and he just didn't grab it. And he had problems this year. He was late for practices. There's been some speculation about him just not really applying himself with all the talent that he has.
But he's a center like Malkin that could help him.
Yes, I think he's a good kid, and I think that that Pittsburgh, being either playing with Crosby or playing with Malkin is going to help him. But he played with Tavares for a time and played with Matthews for a time, and he didn't reach what I thought was a level where he was going to really achieve something. Lindgren was a 2015 draft pick who spent most of his time in Sweden, came over last year, played most of the year with the Marlies. He was loaned back to the Swedish league. So because of the season being delayed until December. I'm not sure if he's an NHL prospect. He's a right-hand shot defenseman, but he really
wasn't he somebody that you were talking up a lot, like you were saying that.
He was like he's in their top 25 prospects, but he was not. No, Lettinen is the guy that they signed from the KHL. Is the guy
right? No, he's going to be really good.
Yeah, but Lindgren is sort of a borderline prospect. And Pontus Åberg, they signed as a free agent last year. He's arbitration eligible RFA, but I don't think they were going to qualify him. So he was basically somebody they were going to walk away from. Evan Rodriguez around Buffalo, I had heard over the last year that there was interest in Rodriguez from the Leafs. He's from Toronto. But the thing is, the Sabres will never, ever trade with the Leafs because the blowback if a player goes to Toronto and he actually plays better than he does in Buffalo, that for some reason the Sabres will never make a deal with the Maple Leafs because of that. But he was traded to Pittsburgh as part of the Dominic Cahoon deal at the deadline. Right. Now in a roundabout way they get the guy that they wanted. But he's an arbitration eligible RFA as well. Yep. And he had a bad year last year, only 10 points in 45 games. I could see the Leafs trying to get him to sign a 1-year deal for less because he made $2 million last year. And if they say, and if he balks, then they just don't qualify him. Now, I think they want him because I think they will, but I don't think they're willing to pay him $2 million. I think, if they can get him on, say, 1.1, 1.2 for a year, then that saves them $2 million in salary. And right. That the money they save on the salary is what they're going to use in free agency or to sign some of their existing players. Now I'll transfer here over to Russ and then Jan, because Russ, 15th overall pick in this draft, you're going to get a good player.
No, you're going to get a good player. I saw some ridiculousness from somebody from The Athletic calling this from Pittsburgh, I forget his name, calling this draft a shit show, and I'm like, why? Because he got pushed back a few months. Like that's ridiculous. That doesn't mean the draft is going to be either handled poorly or there's not good players. Now, I don't think he was talking about players. I just think he's talking about it in general. But I also felt like he was almost saying, like, well, this is why Pittsburgh doesn't care about their pick. And
well, yeah, honestly, if they didn't care about this pick, or if they thought the draft was a shit show, then they should have, because this was the pick that they retained.
Right,
they could have given that to Minnesota.
They could have.
Right.
To use it
but again, this is a writer's opinion. But the and Lindgren, I'm not high on. I think I think Lindgren is a developmental guy who's AHL. Maybe he gets a once in a while call up to the NHL for a couple of games here or there, but I don't think he's anything more than that, or will be. But I like Phil Pounder a lot. I saw him play with the national team. With the national team, he actually was playing wing, and Oscar Back was the center, but he also plays center. He's in the SHL. He's got really good hands. He's the kind of guy that if you get him around the net, he has got great hands around the net. Now, he is 6'2". He definitely has been getting stronger and still needs to get a little stronger. And he has another year, which is great for the Leafs because they're stashing him. Like, they don't have to worry about him for a year.
Right.
But basically, he is a guy who, with sharp cuts and good stick handling, can get in that sweet spot area in the NHL. Now, he's not going to be a high scorer, but he's a guy that if you told me he was going to be a bottom six guy, I wouldn't be shocked. And if you told me he actually made it to be a second liner, I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay.
Because I think there is that kind of ceiling for him. He's 20. And I think he played 26 games this year, so it's not a real good indicator yet. But he had, a fair amount of points. But it's not a real indicator yet of where he is because, a lot of times on those stacked teams, you got to play behind 30-year-old guys. And anyway, this is a really good trade for the Leafs. This is also showing that Rutherford has no more magic bag. This is just straight old GM desperation and having to do something. And this also, I know, Eck, that you feel like Malkin may be going elsewhere. I think they're just having conversations because I don't think you make this deal unless you feel like your second-line center can make Kapanen better. Because at the end of the day, Kapanen's nice, and I say nice, regular season player, and he has failed in the playoffs.
Well, it depends what you're getting from Malkin. Like the idea here, and I did hear, and I was writing before this trade happened, right before this trade happened about Malkin, because I was hearing Malkin stuff. And the interesting thing about that is Rutherford tends to make trades in bunches. We've seen it before. Mm-hmm. He'll put a big plan together, and he'll make, like some of these guys he's picking up may already be going somewhere else in his head. Like I wouldn't be, or the draft pick even. There's other things that he could be, doing here.
Mm-hmm.
The draft pick's not going anywhere. The draft is going to Toronto. But I'm saying that, I think that he definitely liked Kasperi Kapanen, always liked him, did not want to give him up when they did. The thing about Kapanen is he's a smart defensive player too, which is going to help them.
Very good penalty killer.
Pittsburgh needs that. Pittsburgh definitely
got speed, obviously.
They need more defense from their offense, and I think that he can be explosive at times, but I think a lot was expected of him in Toronto in different ways. I mean, I've always been impressed by him.
Remember, I said maybe just 2 weeks ago he would be the guy I would trade first because A, it frees up the right money, and B, he has performed.
It does make me think about Petrangelo with them for sure.
Absolutely, it does now.
You can't get around that concept that they're going to do something major.
Well, they're in a position that if he decides he wants to go free agent, apparently he had some sort of interview today in St. Louis, and in a perfect world, he would like to return to St. Louis. But
if they offered him,
right, but that's the thing. That's what people are not saying. Yeah, I can't imagine Petrangelo anywhere else other than St. Louis. Yeah, but then if that's the case, then they wouldn't have traded for Justin Falk. Then they wouldn't have traded and signed for Marco Scandella. Then they wouldn't have Perunovic as a guy to come in next year. I mean, they would like to sign him, but they'd like to sign him at $6 million, not at $9 million, which is probably.
The only thing I was going to say is an X very aware of this. GMs know 2-3 years in advance exactly what a player is going to be looking for and what they could possibly make when they hit the market. And because they made those moves, that led me to believe that the Blues didn't think they'd be in a position to pay him that kind of money.
Yeah, there's no question that they were, and also just by making those moves, they gave themselves assurance, they gave themselves negotiating power because they weren't being backed up in a corner. You could deal from a position of strength where you have players if you need them, as opposed to if you don't have the players, you're dealing from a position of weakness. You can rake over the coals. I think that was a lot of that was this,
And they're gonna play on I believe his wife is from the St. Louis area. They're going to play on the heartstrings. Well, this is the only organization we play. But if you're being offered $3 million less or $2 million less, I mean, that speaks volumes. And I just don't think that St. Louis is going to offer him like an 8-year deal at $9 million, whereas in free agency he might get a 7-year deal at $8.5 to $9 million. That's going to be the price for a number one defenseman. I don't know if that's a great deal, but just to bring things back to Toronto, and then we can move on.
Yep.
Jan's got a.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
we've been going on. Go ahead, Jan.
So, I mean, as I tweeted, right, we talked a lot about Kapanen getting moved. We knew they were going to have to move somebody to free up some salary. Mike has been very much on the got to keep Kerfoot wagon. And we knew that Kapanen was likely the one who was going to get moved, who had an okay year, not a great year. I mean, my view is he's probably a third liner, potentially second line player. I mean, to my opinion, we talk about this. I think Pittsburgh overpaid. I mean, giving up the first rounder in general is a healthy price, and now obviously Toronto did not have a first rounder, so they get to move back into a draft that's actually a fairly solid draft from especially in the first round. In addition, Pittsburgh gave up Hallander, who I thought was a pretty good prospect when they took him, and I still like his upside. So they gave up a first and a prospect for potentially a third liner. Now the hope is clearly Kapanen pans out to be a second liner. I mean, as I joked, they're hoping he becomes Rob Brown, circa 80s, playing with Lemieux. Right. You put him on a line with maybe if Malkin stays or with Crosby. And hopefully he blossoms into that 30-plus goal scorer. But right now, I consider him a 20-25 goal scorer, and it's a pretty hefty price to give up a first and a fairly solid prospect in Hallander for a guy like Kapanen. I mean, if they gave up a first and got Kapanen a piece back, but to give up the first and the prospect for him, I kind of think that Pittsburgh overpaid in this trade.
Now, Ross, I'm looking at your top 31. I think this is the latest one. It was done in
5.0.
The 5.0, right? And I think based on what the chatter that we've heard over the last month or so, that this guy is going to get picked a lot higher than 15. But 15 on your list was Jake Sanderson. So I think he's
going to go to Buffalo now higher though.
He's probably going to go in the top.
That's where I rank him.
But I look at the players that are listed here anywhere between 12 and 18, and Mercer, Holloway, Gunler, Brendan Brisson, Jan Misak. I mean, these are all really good prospects.
These are all really talented guys. And, if you get Brendan Brisson, you might get a few extra players out of it from his dad, Pat.
Right.
There you go.
Mean, can they find the defenseman that they probably want to draft? That to me is the thing. That
the defenseman won't be immediate help.
Right.
I think you need to look at a first round. I think you need to look at a defenseman here. Don't you think so? I mean,
no.
There's only two defensemen right now listed in the top 20 of this draft, and that is Drysdale and Sanderson, and then
there may be a Swede that moves into it too, but that's it.
Right, but I mean, I mentioned this to Russ. With Anderson in the last year of his deal, I thought there was a possibility when we started hearing the rumors of this that it might be a Matt Murray play. Now it's probably if that was going to happen, it would have happened with this deal, and it didn't.
Maybe.
So
Maybe
it's tough to imagine to be two separate deals. But what I'm saying
depends what else Rutherford can get done. Like he's got other things going. So
sure, but the guy that I wonder if he's there at 15, whether the Leafs would go down this road is Askarov, because they do have two good young prospects in Ian Scott and Joseph Wall, but none of them have that high level potential that Askarov possibly has. He's, he could be the next Samsonov or the next.
I don't think
he's slipping to 15, Mike.
I don't think anyone.
There's any way he slips to 15.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either, but you never know.
I mean, look, if he's there,
if he's still there at 11 or 10, that the Leafs make a move to try to move up to get him. I can see that.
Possible. If they really want him, yes. It's possible.
I mean, they should.
I don't even think he makes it that high. I mean, Russ can know better than I would. Do you think Askarov makes it either way to 10 or 11?
He could make it to 10 or 11. I think that's about the range he's going to get taken in, though. I do.
Yeah. You don't think? Okay, yeah. I thought Detroit might take him if they really. We talked about this. If they really loved him,
not at 4.
At 5.
At 4, I don't think they will. But they, they
could. Ottawa.
Ottawa could.
Ottawa should, honestly.
I mean, Ottawa's got the extra capital that they could.
They don't have a goalie of the future.
Right.
I think a guy like Gunler for the Leafs makes a lot of sense because, again, he'll be in Sweden for a few years. You're not getting a guy from the CHL that you have to lock up after a couple of years.
And who he's teammates with right now? Philip Hallander.
Yeah. That's
okay. Well, maybe something like that. That I mean, it's going to be. I like that we're seeing trades. I'm not surprised that Rutherford opened up the whole thing. And like to go along with that a little bit more before we get into last night's games, which we will definitely get into. The other things I heard today. I heard more today about PK Subban and the Maple Leafs, and that this was another discussion that was being made. I thought, so then you look at the money going up. I think that, the problem is here, you don't know if you're going to be able to get Petrangelo. You don't know how much it's going to cost. That the Devils are willing to hold on to a lot of PK's salary. It becomes interesting, Mike. I mean, I think that PK being a Toronto kid and all that stuff, I just think this is going to be fun.
Well, the thing that there are a number of indicators. One, when we were all at the draft last June in Vancouver, the talk on day one on the floor at the draft was Subban to Toronto, and there was big time interest, but the problem at that point was the Leafs couldn't take all of his $9 million salary.
Right, that's what requiring that. Yeah,
and then I want to mention one thing for the chat room, because Randy asked about Caden Gooley, Brendan's brother. He'll probably get taken in the top 20. I don't consider him there because there are some things in his game that I don't like, but there's a ton of people that love him. But would the Leafs take him? Yeah, maybe.
Now, and then the reason that Subban went to the Devils is because the Devils would take the full $9 million hit, no discount. Nashville wouldn't have seen anything, and the return was reflective of that because they didn't get a great return for a guy who won a Norris Trophy a few years ago. So that will be a factor. If the Devils want to get a good return on Subban, they're going to probably have to retain, I would say, between $3 to $3.5 million on that contract. And I don't think they would be They would be trading hit for like the number one pick. I think it would maybe be a younger defenseman like a Travis Dermott or another forward. But more than likely, it would be to dump his salary. And because I don't know if there's any confidence in New Jersey of whether Subban, he can work out with the Rock all he wants. The question is whether he's past it or whether he still has something left in the tank.
I mean, the thing about Subban, for him, first of all, he would love to come to Toronto. I mean, Subban not only would like to go there because he's from there, but he has media aspirations for after his career. It's a perfect place for him to go. He can do all he wants to do there.
But he could kill his media aspirations if he goes to Toronto and sucks for 2 years. But this is the thing. Petrangelo is a 7-year commitment for any team signing him other than St. Louis. Subban is 2 years left at $9 million. That would be
for me. That's if it's $2 million. If it's 2 years left at $5 million,
right?
It becomes very, very attractive.
Yes,
because I think the belief is that Subban needs to be, and I've talked to somebody about this today, that Subban needs to be in a marketplace that's really watching everything he's doing as far because he wants to be, he's that kind of guy. He wants to be, and New Jersey and Nashville are two marketplaces that didn't necessarily have that. When you saw him in Montreal, he was pretty good. I mean, he was a pretty good player in Montreal, obviously many years. He had his ups and downs still, but he put him back into Toronto and do a hotbed, and he becomes, a star and obviously.
Now, the only thing you have to be concerned with is that, like in Montreal, PK sucks up all the oxygen in the room. It won't be a problem for a guy like Tavares because Tavares is a grounded guy. But guys like Marner and Matthews want the media attention, I think.
Yeah, but he also keeps people in line. Like I've talked to people who've been PK Subban's, been in a PK member in Montreal. He was considered like a locker room. People got on him about the locker room issues and stuff like that. And when I talked to somebody who was in that locker room and asked them if that was really true, and they said, no, it wasn't. PK was a great locker room guy. In fact,
there were a few guys that didn't like him, like Byron, and a few of them that made comments.
Right. But the players I trusted in there, like the real veterans and stuff like that, they said he was a phenomenal locker room guy, just pushed really hard. And I think that, and I know Tavares and he would get along really well.
But here's the other. Yeah, and I think they know them. They know each other from when they're.
They know each other extremely well.
I remember there was a picture of Subban, Stamkos, and Tavares when they were kids. But no, here's the other consideration. Then we'll definitely move on. Subban has got 2 years left. So does Morgan Riley. If they signed Petrangelo, it would probably mark the departure of Riley, because if they sign Petrangelo for $8-9 million, they're likely not going to have the cap space to re-sign Riley. If they trade for Subban is a free agent. I think he'd be 33 or 34. They could say, PK, thank you for your help. We're going to re-sign Morgan Riley, who's 27.
Right.
Plus, also the factor is you signed Petrangelo for 7 years. How many good years do you think you're getting out of him?
3 or 4.
I think three, maybe 4. You know,
right? So you're substantively overpaying to bring somebody into an environment for half the term of his contract. It's one thing when you extend your own guys, and part of that, look, we've talked a lot about. And it's the Yankee mentality, Mike. We talked about you need to know with Jeter, right? Do you reward guys for what they've done or reward guys for what they're going to do? Ideally and optimally, you reward guys for what they're going to do. In Petrangelo's case, you're probably rewarding him a little bit in St. Louis for what he did there and to keep him around. Elsewhere, you're hopefully rewarding and projecting what he's going to do, and you're basically already stepping into a contract. You know, half of it is going to be fallow towards the end of it, when you don't know how much the cap is going to rise. The first 2 years is flat.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I think you would get similar production as Ryan Suter. And everybody looked at that Suter deal and said, "Oh, I don't know, he's never going to be playing." Suter's still really effective.
But how many more years left?
I know,
and very effective.
More
and
than that, I think.
Is like I honestly think that. All right, so let's move on from Subban. We got so much to talk about, but that's something we're going to keep an eye on. I want to talk about Malkin for a second. Every year we hear the same thing with Malkin. You know, like the last couple of years, even last year or 2 years ago in the playoffs, it looked like Malkin was gone. He stormed into Rutherford's office and said, "I want to stay," after saying he didn't want to stay. This really feels like the year that Malkin goes to me, and I know a lot of people are going to, the people are already ripping on me because of Subban and everything like that rumor, but this feels like a lot. And then when I heard today, when the name finally came up today that made a ton of sense, I was really kind of taken by it, and that was San Jose. And when I saw Malkin in San Jose, I'm like, there it is, because that's the team that Malkin goes to and becomes the number one center immediately. A team that has some good young players around them. They aren't as bad as, if you add a Malkin into that scenario, and fix your goaltending, that team is suddenly back, in the race. I think they have some really good young players.
Well, you could fix the goaltending and acquire Malkin in one deal, because
you went with Murray and Malkin, yeah.
But what are we talking about in terms of the cost going back to Pittsburgh? Because Logan Couture,
something like, it's going to be huge. They're going to have to trade a big piece of their
Burns,
or what's his name, the younger kid who everybody likes so much.
Well,
Hurdle,
right? Thomas Hurdle. That these are big names. But you're talking about still a top 10 scorer in the NHL, and Evgeny Malkin. You're talking about still a guy who's you're talking about, and remember this too. And San Jose, Doug Wilson is generally very conservative out there. The ownership's but until they made this trade, which they really have. Doug Wilson's been pissed off about still to the fact that this whole thing went down with Ottawa, the way it went down, not having the draft pick. That really was there. There's no doubt that the Sharks are going to be aggressive. I was told in the UFA period. I talked to somebody out there who's really close to Wilson and said, yeah, expect anything. And Malkin's a possibility. There's all kinds of, we really are going to go out there and try to show our fans that we're not just sitting back here.
It's not really to show their fans. They have Erik Karlsson. They've got some big salaries there. Burns. They've got to try and maximize it.
Right. But they haven't, and Karlsson and Burns are,
their fans would probably rather them rebuild that.
You're talking about San Jose fans.
You're looking at a team that has $14 million in cap space now. They still need to re-sign LeBlanc, and maybe the Robbie Fabry deal is kind of what LeBlanc got, who took a major discount to stay there last year, right? And defensively, they have holes on their defense. They have holes in net. Look, that's a lot of money to take on board in a team that, in my opinion, is a lot further away than just Evgeny Malkin to becoming a contender. There's a lot of holes on that roster.
There's a ton of holes there, no question about it. But also, when you make a move like Malkin, or say they get in on Taylor Hall, which I also heard in the last 24 hours, Taylor Hall, which was kind of ironic because I'm like, they're going to run into the same thing that happened with Tavares, where they outbid Calgary and
but they don't have the money for it. That's the problem. They don't have the money for it.
They're gonna have to make moves to do it, but they said they're gonna have the money to do Malkin or Hall when I talked.
Well, here's the potential, because I did hear the name of Hurdle being mentioned closer to the deadline when obviously San Jose was out of it. They ended up getting a first round pick for Barclay Goodrow, which was a great move. But there was talk about them trading Hurdle, and then Hurdle got hurt like about 3 days before the deadline. You could see that deal being readdressed during the offseason, and that would clear about $6 million.
It doesn't hurt,
but it's going to lose another hole in your roster. Right. You've now moved one of your better offensive guys potentially to free up room. Look, you're gaining an incremental gain clearly between Malkin and Hurdle, but Malkin's also only signed for 2 more years as well. Right. And we talked about you don't have a goalie who you consider a number one goalie. Right. They're paying $19 million. Was it $19 million at least?
There are goalies out there, Jan.
To Burns and Carlson.
Yeah, but until they get rid of Martin Jones, they have
4 more years at $5.75 million.
They're going to have to buy him out. I think something's going to have to happen there.
So you're looking at an 8-year buyout then.
Yeah. But they're going to have to because the reality is that he's not working, and there's not going to.
The question becomes how much you're freeing up by buying him out this year. Also,
right.
And look at them to go hard after Hudobin. I was told, like that.
Here you go. If they bought out Martin Jones, it would be spread over 8 years. $2.875 million for next year, $1.875 for the following year, and then it goes between 1.6 and 2.8 the last 6 years.
Right. So you're basically clearing half his salary.
Right.
Which would not be enough to even find you a number one goalie. You're not getting a goalie at $3 million.
No. Malkin has a full no movement clause. Who's to say he's going to agree to go to San Jose?
I was told that San Jose is an area he loves.
Okay.
I was told that he knows he goes there and becomes the number one guy, which
that's the key right there, right?
Which matters.
He becomes the guy as opposed to the 1A. The 1B, he's the 1A.
Yeah, and San Jose is a beautiful area to live. I mean, if you've got money and you're living in that area, it is absolutely astounding. I mean, it's expensive as hell to live there, but it's really Northern California is absolutely stunningly beautiful.
She was in here for the first half hour or so.
But anyway, moving on to let's move on to last night's games because we do have to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we can do the first one really quickly.
There were games yesterday?
Yeah, it was
Wait, let me start on the first one, Mike, okay? First of all, is Green, is Green going to be in the Hall of Fame now? Like the way they're talking about him. I mean, he definitely had a hell of a game, but cow.
Andy Green has offense in his game. I talked about it.
No, you were dead on about Andy Green, and let's talk about Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz and what it means to have smart people.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about that.
I mean, it's just they are the guy who what's his name, Boychuk, is healthy and scratched.
He's not getting back in.
Yeah, but he wasn't that particularly good when he was in before.
Right.
Green is a much better defenseman right now than him.
So then they scratched the other guy, former Ranger, what's his name? Forward. Oh crap. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind.
I'll look it up because
the former Jet, former Ranger, who was coming in UFA, coming up. Damn it, what's wrong with me?
Andrew Ladd.
Starts with a B.
Oh.
Anyone. Good Lord, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, someone will pick it up. But anyway, I mean, what Lou is doing there, and what Trotz is doing there.
Eric Brassard.
Thank you,
Brassard. Yeah.
Brassard, another healthy scratch. Okay, so and Brassard, remember, he doesn't play
defense.
Didn't he score a goal though against Florida?
Yeah, he doesn't play defense.
What you're seeing there is this utmost confidence in Barry, that the Trotz has such confidence, and Lou has such confidence in him, that they're just to do the stuff that they're doing. I mean, and okay, this is another instance where he said coaching is going to matter in the bubble. Last night, all the Islanders did, and I was waiting for someone on this podcast on the broadcast to say this, and then Boucher finally said it. The Islanders watched what the Canadians did to the Flyers, and they saw clear as day the way to bottle the Flyers in. That the Flyers defense doesn't.
They didn't play it exactly the same way though.
Yeah, but the Flyers defense doesn't move the puck quick enough. And if you have situations like this, the Flyers are playing very harried, very hectic, trying to get the puck up the ice. They should have known that this was coming. I mean, it's like to say that Boucher kept saying he was surprised that the Islanders did this. Who would have been surprised that they would?
No, I mean, I wasn't surprised either.
No.
But a couple things. So we both agreed when the Islanders are a team that basically forces you to make mistakes, and that's how they get their goals. You can't put in a guy who's prone to making mistakes like Shane Gostisbehere. He shouldn't be in the rest of the series. Like Vigneault should know that. Even though
Gostisbehere had the worst game I've ever seen him play.
It was so bad.
And I feel bad for the guy at this point. Like, I think
he's a good guy. It's just this is a bad matchup for him.
What they're clearly, and it was interesting because the first 2 shifts of the game, I'm like, wow, he's doing pretty good. Like, you could tell that he was told to take rushes. He was told to do like the Gostisbehere thing that made it gave him that made him a Calder finalist. Like, take the rushes, become the 4th forward, and he was doing that like crazy. And it was actually working a little bit. But what happened is, the more giveaways, and they just pound that.
His puck retrieval stinks. He won't battle against the boards. He only goes there if he's in there first. Like, those things don't work against the Islanders because they make you pay the price because they're willing to pay the price.
Like the point where he gets he finally gets a shot from the point and breaks his stick like as he's taking a shot. It's like he couldn't have felt worse for the guy. It's just like completely and utterly disastrous.
I also think that Gostisbehere he's playing a little shy when it goes to being along the boards.
Oh yeah,
because he's coming off that knee injury.
He's not a big guy, okay? Gostisbehere, when you're talking to him, he doesn't look like he's a professional athlete. Like, he's just not a big character. He's not a big player. Like,
Gostisbehere's game is open ice, and the Islanders.
He's a winger, Jan.
Open ice.
He's a winger.
Look, I actually thought Philly had a better second period than the Islanders did.
They did.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
But again, so the difference is, though, even though they carried play, they didn't get shots on net, right? This is
right.
I think I heard a stat this morning. This is the 9th straight game the Islanders have given up 30 or less shots.
Oh, this is what they do.
The Islander style. They will block shots. No. They will force you into shots from bad areas.
Yeah.
They will not give you open space in the middle. And then when they counter, they showed highlights. I didn't think Matt Barzal had a particularly good game yesterday. I thought he turned the puck over a lot, but he kept coming and made a couple of plays.
Had a couple of moments though, and that mattered. Yeah.
The Islanders' offense wasn't the greatest. I mean, they did swarm the net. I mean, the Flyers outshot them 10-0 in the second period.
I thought Hart played a good game also, by the way.
I thought his best game, to be honest.
But
the goal by Green, he never saw. He just never saw the puck at all.
But I don't think he had so much traffic that he shouldn't have been able to see it. That's the weird part.
Yeah, the defenseman right in front of him. That's why.
That's not a bad point, Russ. I mean, I think you're right about that in a lot of ways. I mean, you
have to be intuitive as a goalie too and have an idea. But anyhow, the other things, so you could see that they were forechecking to the point where they basically could tell their best players, hey, hang around the crease because we're going to get you the puck. And that's exactly what they did with Pageau. And that play is going to be there again because the Flyers are losing on the forecheck every time. Like, it's just again, let's go with Claude Giroux. So Claude Giroux in the bubble is not the same player. You could say whatever you want about him. He's not even playing third line quality. He has no aggressiveness. Post game, he is barely alive. Like, he's just saying, the best players need to play better. Like, that's robotic.
Yeah. He's
there is no fire in this guy when they get out on the ice. We see a different Giroux when he's at home with a crowd, whatever. I don't know what it is, but you know what? This one's killing him.
He's trying because, he's trying to be that guy. If you watch him on the bench during the national anthems, which, by the way, can we just play tapes of actual national anthems? Why don't we have? Surely we have videos of Lionheart singing with a crowd, from Philadelphia or whatever. Like, it's such a bad version of the national anthem that Lionheart did, and I know Lionheart, and I know her as a musician. I mean, she played with my band in different situations and stuff like that. She's got to be cringing at this. It's just like get the friggin' version that we've seen 100 times. It'll be sentimental to the players to see their crowd cheering and whatever and being ready. Give them something. Don't just have silence with the flags.
Yeah.
So stupid. Anyway, that's just that to me.
Talk about Giroux because again,
Giroux wasn't starting the game. Okay, so if you watch the beginning of the game, he is on the bench doing this thing, doing the Giroux thing, and he is totally trying to get himself amped up, which to me shows that he's having to try too hard to get amped up. He's not naturally just ready to go. He knows there's something wrong, and he's forcing it to be I'm going to do something, because that's not normally Giroux's way to go back and forth. I'm watching him on the bench. I'm like, what the heck? Giroux's that's not him at all. Now I want to say this, and I think we might disagree on this, but I thought in the second period, the Giroux, Voracek, Couturier line started to show something.
Yeah, for a short time, a couple.
For most of the second period and parts of the third period.
Oh, I don't even know about parts of the third. I'm gonna jump off the bus on that one.
All right, but I saw Giroux had one shot. It was, we all joked about it. It was a really good shot, but it was a really good shot. And if he buries that, that line, if they get a goal, you feel like they'll get 4 goals. You know, like I mean, Voracek's playing. Voracek, who I have always been down on.
No has to be drastic here, Eck. I would put Rafa with the top line. I would, because nobody's really digging the puck out for these guys. Even Couturier now is sort of in this bad zone where it's not working for him either. Voracek was scoring some goals. Now he's not. I would put Rafa on the top line, and I really would use him as the guy digging the puck out because he is at least a two-way guy. That's one thing. And I definitely would take Gostisbehere out, and put Hag in. But here's the other thing, Eck, and this is the one I probably would bring in a guy like Andreoff. I'm not looking for skill. I'm looking for him to be an idiot because the Islanders have Clutterbuck and Johnston, and the Flyers don't really have anything to work off of that. And that is hurting them too because if you remember I said I thought Clutterbuck would get Konechny off his game, and he did get Konechny going, and he did get him arguing with the referees. And yes, Konechny had a couple of decent chances, but that's it. Mainly, he's been ineffective too.
Yeah, and the Islanders, see, that's the thing. The Islanders, and you saw this very noticeably in Game 1, they have a collection of red asses on that lineup. Because Cizikas, Clutterbuck, and Martin, Johnston, Pajot is a pain in the ass to play against, and there are other ones too. And really, the Flyers have no answer for it. And if they don't,
orange asses, Mike, just a bunch of orange asses. That's all it is.
There you go. But I mean, they really have no answer for that. And if they want to contend in this series, if they want to be competitive, they're going to really have to answer. And no, I don't think Grant or Thompson is an answer for that. But I don't know if they have anybody in their.
Here's the thing: of all the Flyers, a lot of the Flyers forwards to me don't know what their role is. And I think when I watched them play last night, I see to me, Kevin Hayes knows what his role is. He knows that he's
the best player for them.
He's also not playing any defense because he's out, but he knows he's not supposed to. See, he's not
the best player in transition now.
He's cheating up to get shots. He's doing things like that. He's doing his things that he's always done, where everybody else is ridiculously responsible defensively. And the problem is when the Islanders are coming at you forechecking like that, you've got to stretch them out by cheating behind them a little bit. And if they're gonna send all 5 guys into your zone on a forecheck, I want one of your players at the red line waiting, just because honestly, you get it out of there. There's nobody back there. I would stress you got to take the Islanders. The Islanders want to play in a really small space. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the Flyers play in a really small space. You got to spread that out a little bit. You got to work faster. Hart had his best period of the bubble in the first period yesterday. I mean that game.
Yeah, but he can't continue to play.
Oh no, I know. But I mean, he was. And that save he made was beautiful, but lucky, obviously.
Yeah, he deflected off the post, but he was in good position.
I'm going to tell you something, Mac. If the Flyers get dealt the same hand in Game 2, I got to put Elliott in the next game because he's the only one that can deal with everything breaking down like that and keeping him in the game.
I was thinking about that. I think I would definitely back-to-back games. I would definitely go with Elliott if they lose Game 2, and not against Hart, but just being this is what you're going to, this is what we're going to do, because I don't think that. I'm really not a big believer in that, coming back from 3-1 matters in the bubble. I think a lot of these things don't matter as much because the travel's not there. You're not going different places. You just got to look at this you got to be the first to win 4 games, honestly. And I agree with you. I mean, now I did see there were times yesterday in the second period where the Islanders made some of their mistakes that the Islanders make. And Varlamov, bailed him out. Konechny, closer and closer and closer. These guys are getting closer, but they're running out of time.
Yeah,
but the reality is,
runway.
Like I said, I picked the Islanders in 6 games because last night's game is exactly what I thought would happen. That's exactly how I saw this series going until they change things around. I will say this, that I'm upset that it wasn't 5-0 because we've seen what 5-0 does. But 4-0 is, I thought when they pulled the goalie, they were trying to get to 5-0 rest so that so that the statistical of losing 5-0 would be better for the Flyers. But pulling the goalie at 7 minutes. Also, can we talk about that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Just when you were getting chances, and it wasn't you get 1 goal there and you make it 3-1. That's a hell of a lot different than being down 4-0.
It is.
7 minutes left, and what was even weirder about that? It was almost as if not all the Flyers knew that they pulled the goalie.
I agree with that.
Then I saw Couturier's face on the ice after the goal goes in. He was looking what the hell was that? And he's on the ice. I got the impression he was. I don't know. There was some stuff there that really bothered me a lot.
I mean, one more hidden thing too. I was noticing as the game went on that Pitlick was getting less and less ice time. He only got 11 minutes of ice time, right? So if you're only going to use Tyler Pitlick for 11 minutes, you might as well bring in JVR for 11 minutes because get something out of it.
Right. Also, if you're not going to skate and you're not going to draw any penalties, the Islanders are going to kill you.
Oh yeah.
Like you have to get a power play against a team like the Islanders that plays that defensive style. Like, if you remember the old days of trying to beat the Devils, you had to get power plays against the Devils because even though they're good penalty killing, at least then you were going to be in their zone getting chances.
Well,
only one penalty and only one power play in the whole game or whatever it was.
Yeah, none in the second period. Let's talk about the more interesting of the two games from last night because I thought the Dallas-Colorado game was pretty entertaining.
Fascinating, Mike.
And I have to say, and I told Russ this when I talked to him about the Kapanen trade this morning, Colorado's in trouble because if Eric Johnson is out indefinitely, which he didn't play it last night. You saw what Dallas, even when they were down 2-0, what Dallas was doing was they were zeroing in on Cale Makar. They were laying the body on him every single time he touched the puck. McKinnon is phenomenal. He's probably the best player in the playoffs right now. And that line with Landeskog and Rantanen when they put them on the power play or when they put them at 5-on-5 is a line that Dallas can't match up with. But I look at the four lines that Dallas put together. And the turning point in this game was middle of the second period when Dallas got a 5-on-3. Pavelski scored, and they tied up the game 2-2. And then Colorado got a 5-on-3. And I think they got 1 or 2 shots on goal. They didn't even jump at the opportunity. And then the next time Dallas got an opportunity, it went off Radulov into the net against Francouz. Yeah. I thought Francouz did not look good yesterday, so that's another problem. They missed Matt Calvert. I think they're deep enough that they can recover from Matt Calvert, but the number one defenseman being missing in terms of ice time with Johnson.
It's killing them. It made them totally out of sync. Yeah. I think it took the goalies out of their game because they're used to – the one thing Johnson can do is he moves the puck well, he plays the minutes, but he plays hard minutes too, and he is tough. And they
really think that playing against Arizona messed up Colorado in a big way. Like that not having enough competition in that series, they're not getting up to speed.
Well, I mean, and Dallas is hot right now. They've now won 6. They've now won 5 games in a row. They've scored, I think, 29 goals in their last 7 games, which, for a team that was averaging around 2 goals a game during the regular season is phenomenal. I was saying this, Jan, it's like the last couple games, the line that was dead during the entire Calgary series was Radulov, Ben, and Sagan. And now they're producing like a number one line should, and they're not having to depend on Gurianov or Pavelski or Perry to cover or their defense to carry the offensive burden. And Khudobin was really good yesterday. For the first time, I had confidence in him the way he was playing. But it's that number one line that's been really carrying the ball for them in the series.
So Russ talked about instinctive goaltending with heart, and you look at Khudobin's glove save where he literally closed his eyes, put his glove up, hit the glove. That was one of those. In terms of the power play, they didn't have a shot on goal, but McKinnon or Landeskog hit the post on that one.
Yeah,
which could have been a difference maker. But you guys know when I write my blogs, I look for one little thing that may not show up in the box score that makes a difference. So you talked about the 5-on-3. To me, the game-changing play, and it was a very small play, was Radulov's keep at the line. When he jumped in the air and knocked it down, because it kept the puck in the zone, enabled Dallas to cycle, resulted in the power play, which then led to the 5-on-3 and the pair of goals. So that little play that may not have gotten noticed, literally to me changed the whole tenor of the game because it resulted in that additional man advantage and then the 2 goals on it, right? And they did a great job on the 5-on-3. I thought that Colorado didn't do a great job of moving the puck. They kept looking for the open shot as opposed to just taking shots and dealing with the traffic in front and getting rebounds on the 5-on-3. It looks like they were trying to do the perfect shot until McKinnon finally said, screw it. I'm shooting it when he hit the post. But penalty kill was not good. I personally think they're going to have to put Timmins or Biden in the game and with Johnson out. I think they have to shake it up. They have to put one of those guys in and take the chance right now.
They just play bad. Bednar just wanted to play it safe, and they can't play it safe anymore.
Not now. Not down 2-0. You don't have a choice anymore.
And there was a little bit of luck there because the Radulov, the goal that made it 3-2 went off of Radulov's body and over.
And by the way, I still don't know if Lindell's shot made it in the net.
And I
I've watched that 5 times. I honestly, first of all, the fact that he had it underneath him, and Lindell kept jamming at him and nothing was called.
They showed
the fact that I don't think it went in at all.
They showed every conceivable replay of that goal, and I think they basically said we have no proof that the referee was wrong, so we have to go with that call.
There is a picture with the puck over the line. There is.
I know.
I didn't see that one, but
I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see that too.
I just thought that Lindell kept whacking and whacking at the goalie, and like 3-4 clips, and nothing was called either.
Yeah. I know. It's a fun series, though. It really is. I mean, Dallas is suddenly like a fun team to watch again, which is really interesting because they were such a boring team to watch.
And I'll tell you what, Nichushkin has no playoff points. Take him out of the lineup.
Yeah, what's the deal with that guy? Like, it's just he's not inspired to play against Dallas. Like, come on, like get like at least.
It must be something about seeing that Stars uniform but he had a pretty decent year with Colorado. But I'll just say this: it's like I'm impressed by the depth of the Stars lineup. Faxa, Dickinson. I mean, we got Perry, the grizzled veteran Perry on one line, and then Pavelski on the other line. Rupe Hintz, Guryanov. I mean, they're really deep and really big. And really tough. The only weakness I see with them is the bottom pairing, which I think is Sekera and Taylor Fedun is not exactly the greatest pairing in the world. But your top 4 is playing really, really good minutes and really quality minutes. Although Klingberg had the worst game I've seen him have in about 3 years yesterday, and they were able to win.
And you know what? Honestly, Kadri's killing it on faceoffs, but he's got to be more of an offensive player too.
The Radulov play that led to the penalty, and then Cole's cross-check in the back of Pavelski in the crease was just a dumb penalty, not totally unnecessary, and resulted in a 2-man advantage. He has to be a lot smarter there. There was no need for that at all.
And Russ has got to explain his Blake Como hate to us.
I mean, he's always on a team in the East, and he's always the dirtiest player on the ice, and this is why he's still in the league. Now, he does have some offensive ability, but Blake Como, when you're not looking, he's tripping you. When you're not looking, he's slashing you. Come on. Every fan of a team in the East, Jan should feel that way. X should feel that way. Yeah. The only fans who don't hate Blake Como are Islander fans.
I
don't think about it much, to be honest with you.
Or the team that he's playing on.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Now,
go ahead, right? Go ahead.
Update for tonight. John Cooper has confirmed Ryan McDonough out for Game 2 for Tampa. Uh-oh. That's a big loss. Now, if Boston, and we know what Boston does, I will tell you right now. And Victor Hedman's big enough that he can withstand it. But every time Victor Hedman touches the puck, he's getting hit. Because he's going to play 30 minutes. Every single time somebody will stick him, will hit him, will do something. That's a given. And the thing is, I mean, that means more responsibilities for Sergachev, more responsibilities for Bogosian.
Yep.
That's a big piece that's missing.
It's a huge piece. It's a huge piece. This is pretty much a must win for Tampa tonight, I think. It's not definitely a must win, but I think
there is a picture of the puck. If you can see it, it's on Twitter. You can see the puck is on the line.
Just retweet it.
Just retweet it.
That's fine.
We'll put it up there if we can.
It's on Sports Day Stars, and you can see it's over the line.
Over the line. All right. Well, then it is. I mean, there it is, right? So,
but they spent 5 or 6 minutes.
Because I think, like Dan said, I think they were wondering how did it get there, and Lindell had a million swats at it.
And
the better question is how did the referee know that the puck crossed the line initially if nobody could tell that it crossed the line?
True.
Because he was behind the net.
Because he was behind the net.
The goal.
He still couldn't see anything.
Right? No. I'm saying he couldn't see it because he was behind the net.
And then don't make the call that the puck's in the net.
Right. I think he pointed because Lindell was celebrating.
Okay, could be. It's possible.
Maybe. Yeah, it's possible.
And nobody from Colorado really raised any kind of furor, so they really didn't they could have said, "Oh no way!"
I will say this: Esmir was saying Tampa's relying on Bogosian. In the way they're using Bogosian, I don't think he's been bad.
No.
Right. No, I don't think he's been bad either. I think he's filled in nicely for them. I just think we have to see tonight. You have to see Tampa coming out strong. Like you have to see a Tampa team that comes out attacking Boston.
Right. But if Boston weathers that early storm like Colorado, Colorado outshot Dallas 20-6 in the first period. It was 1-0. Then they got the second goal to make it 2-0.
Yeah, and that was, Hudobin was phenomenal. And
I think Tampa learned something in that Boston game. That's why they played better at the end. And I think they'll play this game better. I think Boston spent a little too much time being dirty, and I think they got to do a little less of that, because if you get Tampa involved in too many power plays, eventually you're going to get burned.
Well, right, but that's the key, Russ, is that if Boston has raised that annoyance level to a high enough level that they get Tampa to take stupid penalties, guys like Maroon to take stupid penalties, and then Boston gets their chance to put that power play out there, which is lethal. That's the game there, because they score a couple power play goals, they'll win that game.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do. I've been trying to find an update on Stamkos.
There's nothing out there.
It's amazing. There is nothing out there. I've been looking around while you guys have been talking, and there is absolutely nothing. The last thing, there's not a single peep anywhere from what I'm hearing. It's just like incredible.
There is nothing on Stamkos. It's true. I can't find anything.
I'm looking. Let's see what's it say here. Tampa's okay. So Steven Stamkos won't play for Lightning in Game 1. It's like the last thing you see. This is ridiculous. I know. Like it's like the greatest thing. I'm not
going to be shocked if he's in one of these warm-ups. I expect it.
Yeah, at some point he's going to be here. There's absolutely nothing anywhere.
Yep. I give Cooper great credit for keeping, because usually this kind of stuff, they're in Toronto. There's enough snooping around that you think someone would know.
He should be practicing with them, right?
Well, he's probably practicing either before or after.
Right. The only thing I've seen is he's still listed as unfit to play.
Unfit to play.
As of today?
As of today.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this is bigger than this is not.
Yeah, look, imagine sidelining Pasternak. We saw what Boston was like. They could still win, but they're not the same. You put Stamkos' shot back on Tampa, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference.
But I do think they could win without it, but I do think they do need it on the power play. And I think they're going to get it at some point.
Yeah. So I got nothing. I'm still looking.
Yep.
Huh. This is what I texted one of my guys down there who said that they've been told not to even ask about him. Like Tampa said, don't ask about Stevens. When you get to that point,
then he's probably out. They kept him in the bubble because they hoped that he would be available for the conference final or the Stanley Cup final.
Now, there is somebody on 102.5.
No, don't read that. Don't read that.
That's not true.
It's phony.
Yeah, no, read further on that. It's
all right. I appreciate it. I'm just looking for anything we got here. Obviously, like anybody else is, beware of false prophets.
But let's just mention the other game tonight, Vegas, Vancouver.
Vegas and Vancouver are playing later.
Yeah.
No. I'm just kidding. I think this is you said to mention it. No, I honestly think that this is going to be a good one. I do believe that we talked about before, the 5-0 thing, just like the Flyers will win Game 2. Vancouver's going to win Game 2 tonight. Mark my words. It's if you're a betting person, you get good numbers, which you never can on.
Don't bet on Vancouver. Don't listen to Eck. Don't bet on it. Please don't do it.
I'd like to thank.
I've only had 2 locks. This
is a man high on sugar right now.
I've had 6 of these. I'm like flying. I'm like.
I'd like to thank.
Look what I'm doing here.
I think we need an intervention, Ross.
Look at these.
An intervention.
Look at this.
I lost my bet on purpose, so he would go into diabetic coma.
I'm happy. Jello mold.
I'd like happy.
I'd like to thank the NHL for starting times of 7 and 9:45 because it made it much easier to stay up to watch.
We got to find
to get his beauty sleep now.
True. I agree with all that. All right, I do have something else I want to bring up real fast because and I think this is very, very important. And that is this. All right, here. One second. Here we go, Jarrett. All right, this is Lily from AT&T.
Stop.
Okay, now Lily from AT&T. We've all seen this commercial 1,000 times now. Okay, my theory on her is that she is a robot. Okay, now
I sent her IMDb.
I know Russ searched her IMDb last night and said that that she's been on other
Yeah,
Right. She's been on Silicon Valley. She's been on a bunch of things.
No, I'm not saying the person who they've modeled this robot against, hasn't been on.
Oh dear God!
All right, but I'm saying, but I do.
Mike, end the show. Mike, end the show now, please.
No, Mike. This is too important, Mike. We're the only ones who have this. This is an exclusive, Hockey Buzz exclusive right here, because I believe Lily is some kind of CGI. Because if you watch her eyes, occasionally one of them will move about an inch up. Just watch it as the commercial's happening. It's really
She's not a Femba and X. She's not.
I think she is something like that, and I think that and it's something about her really bothers me to the point where I'm uneasy. It's like what do they call that thing when something's too close to human but not human? Like in a cartoon.
Yellow shots talking.
What is this? What is this? Westworld?
No. I mean, there are pictures of her I found from other things, like that are pretty fascinating. I mean, she was on apparently the actress that
I'm sure you've been scouring for pictures of her.
Well, look at Mike.
Check your job,
Mike said that he wouldn't throw her out of bed for eating cookies.
Well, I know, but
here we go. But check this out. For example, I want to talk. I mean,
but my heart is devoted to Jan from the Toyota commercials.
Jan. Okay, I thought you were talking about this Jan. All right.
No.
This is also Lily. Now then, I mean, that's like another side of Lily that we haven't seen. But let's just say
we still have hockey to talk about here.
All right, I'm just not convinced, guys. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not convinced.
All the Jewish grandmothers would be very happy if their sons married her. Anyhow,
Funky
Cold woman, but that's the woman, not the computer-generated model that we're watching on the commercials. Go ahead, Mike.
Funky Cold Zadina with the text of the day, Sarah Matanglin.
Good spelling, Funky.
Yes.
Porzingis is out tonight. I don't care.
Yeah, nobody cares. The last note here. John Tortorella fined $25,000.
I talked over it. He's going for his 7th Jello shot. End the show.
Mike, you're saying. Go ahead. I talked over that. I apologize. John Tortorella.
John Tortorella's fined $25,000 for
being a jerk.
Which John Tortorella essentially.
He's more than willing, since he makes probably $3 million a year. He's more than willing to pay that to exercise what he believes is the right way.
Pay more than that in dog sitting fees.
I mean, and I talked to somebody who within that organization just wasn't thrilled about the way he responded and everything. But he's John Tortorella. That's what he does. He was a hell.
I remarked to Russ, I was really surprised because I can understand like the in-series tactics of being curt and not answering Aaron Portzline's questions. But when they got eliminated, I expected him, okay, it's over with. He'll be more glib. And he ended it and says, I'm not going to talk about this happy HS. Be safe, everyone, and left after 40 seconds. It's like, okay, it's over with. You can't play your games anymore. They're meaningless. Why are you doing that? Why?
I know. I don't get it at all. It's a shame. I mean, it's really a shame. All right, well, we're going to get going. But listen, Russ, you're the one who can get this done. I want to get an interview with this woman. So if you can find her somehow, and so we can interview Lily from AT&T.
All right, I'll work on it.
See what you can do. Okay, I think that she's. If nothing else, to get to set up Mike, like hook up Mike if that's the case. But
okay, we're not doing it for that.
I'm saving myself for the Toyota girl.
There she is, and now see that's the actual Lily. But I think I need to talk to her to make sure that she's in the computer.
Yeah,
All right, remember, folks, don't eat these. They're really bad for you. They make you insane. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hot.